Hey, I want to talk about just some feelings. In the last few years, I've learned a lot of tools, a lot of resources, and I've gained a lot of control over the outcome of emotion. And in that time, I have learned that everything that we feel, or this is my story, so everything that I feel as an emotion no longer doesn't have to have control over us. So when these tools are in place, we live in a place of extreme rest, of extreme contentment, of extreme awe that, wow, we feel things, we've learned to be embodied, we've learned what it means to renew our minds in the gospel and to live that way, not through posturing or pretending or stoicism or zeal. That those are not legitimate. Those are not legitimate realities. They're all acts. Being authentic in our autonomy from our flesh in this way doesn't mean the absence of these things, but it means the control of these things by the means through which we have been created as human beings, as a species, to manage and mitigate. We have to learn how to do this. So this past weekend, I had two somewhat severe issues that took place. One was my dog leaped the fence and got hit by a car, and I didn't feel anything like I'm used to. And it bothered me. I thought, well, I'm going to get angry. This dog got loose. I'm going to get angry. That person didn't stop when they hit my animal. I'm going to get angry. And then I'm like, well, I can't. I just don't feel anger. And then I started thinking about, well, why I don't feel fear? Because fear has to do with what the future may hold. And so I thought, well, am I really sad? Why am I not broken? And then I started to realize that I was feeling sadness. I was feeling fear. And I was feeling anger. But these feelings no longer controlled me. My thoughts were focused. My body was in a resolute place. My mind immediately went to the fact that the Lord wills. I even tried to get upset, but I couldn't. My biggest concern was not getting run over while I was bent over on the side of the state highway over there trying to mitigate these injuries. The good news is that she is okay. She is going to have a full recovery with a few teeth that are bruised up and cracked. And then I got another phone call about a loved one who is very ill, and it made me sad, and it made me sad for my family, for the time is near. But not in a way that 3 years ago, or even a little over 2 years ago, it would have caused me to be broken, to be unconsolable, to move into a place to where I felt like I was out of control, so I had to fix everything. And here's what I've learned, is that a lot of what I am experiencing now caused me a little bit of fear in this slight way of like, am I okay? Why am I not having these reactions? And this is what I know. Reactions are not feelings. Reactions are not emotions. Reactions are a lack of control. Reactions are a mind that is in despair. Reactions are the fruit of not being healthy. So when we react to anything, we need to pay attention to what that was. And more importantly, we need to go back and feel what we feel in our bodies and say to ourselves, why is this important to me? Why did I react that way instead of responding to the circumstance, to dealing with it? And some precious people in our lives often react, and then it creates another reaction. And then relationships are. And sometimes that reaction, you might think, well, I don't get upset. No, sometimes that reaction is avoidance. It's like, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to bow away. I don't want to be in conflict. Oh, I can't take this, so I just get away. These things can be overcome, but it is not easy. The greatest advice I could give you, or example rather, is that you're going to have to face this stuff in a way that is safe and timely and managed and spiritually focused, and with help and people who can walk with you, who will just be there and not try to interfere and tell you what you ought to do and tell you how you ought to feel and tell you to get over it or make light of it because their situation's worse, and so on and so forth. That's a trigger for me. But you have to work through it. And it means that feeling some of the deeper things in your life, facing some of the deepest traumas. And some people are thinking is what it's going to take. And so you have to get to a place where you literally are looking under your feet. You're getting down into the soil of the root of who you are. And this is extremely biblical. And it is extremely important to understand that when Paul would say, I prayed to the Lord 3 times to remove and deliver me from this problem in my life. He used the term thorn in the English. We translated thorn. And but the Lord said to me, my grace is sufficient. Paul would go on to say that, in my weakness, he is strong. As long as you think you're strong, you're a slave to your weakness. As long as you think that you have it and you're going to make it because you know what to do, you're always going to be on the road of another person's journey, of another ideology that's not you, or another person's thoughts on who you should be and what you should be doing. You're not free. You're not free to read the Bible. You're not free to pray. You're not free to live your life. When other people's understanding of how you ought to live and who you really are is not directly rooted from the Spirit teaching you through the Scripture by yourself, that you may express it and share it. And then, we work through our errors and mistakes, but this is part of what it means to be a person of God, a child of God, the sheep of Christ. We have to have it all. We have to have doubt. We have to have sin. We have to work through these things because we are going to be trained and taught. That's the word discipline. And cared for and loved and comforted by God and by those who are truly God's people, who walk with us in these times, so that we will grow to understand the foundation on which we stand, so that when we are told at night by our 10-year-old, there's a monster under my bed, there's a monster under my bed. Daddy, I think there's a monster under your bed. 10-year-olds don't really do that, but let's say they're 5. We can say it's okay because we know there's no monster under the bed. We can say, when the world around us is going, you're going to perish. Why are you out in this storm? This ship is going to be torn apart. And we're asleep in the bottom of the boat because Christ is asleep in the bottom of the boat. We know things spiritually, not cognitively, because our cognition must be informed in that way. It's another conversation. We are settled because we know, and nothing can take that away from us. That is rest. That is what faith does, but faith grows to that. And guess what? There's going to be something else in my life in the future. It's going to shake me worse than I've ever been shaken. And my faith is going to fall apart. And I'm going to give up. And I'm going to opine and to complain. And I'm going to give up in my spirit and have despair and wonder. But ultimately, I'm going to look back on those days as I stand again upon a more solid foundation and realize that it's not even my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm a beloved child of the Most High, and He's purposed these things for me so that I may walk to the praise of His glorious grace through these fiery trials. So that when it's said and done, I can say, wow, my Father has never failed. Every hole, every hurt, every horror has been for my good, for my joy, for my growth, and for His glory. I'm having this conversation with a lot of people, and God is changing their lives. This is what it means to live out in the gospel. Nothing else. Let's learn together.